Erika Kirk and TPUSA have a big problem. A new article that was released is showing that they may be having a women problem. Now, that's interesting considering the fact that now the new CEO of Turning Point USA is a woman. And that tells me it's something about Erika. Could be something about her. This is not good news for Turning Point USA. This is not good news for Erika Kirk. This is not good news for the Republican Party. Everyone check this out. This article dropped from the Huffington Post. Been waiting to cover this. Turning Point USA has an Erika Kirk problem. They just come right out with it. Gen Z women aren't so keen on the MAGA fantasy pitched by Turning Point's new CEO. Gen Z women. Uh-oh. Let's get into it here. Charlie Kirk came and converted the young men. Erika Kirk is coming to convert the young women. That came from Tyler Boyer. He wrote that on X. It raked in nearly 100,000 likes and has been reposted close to 9,000 times. The forecast accompanied the news that Erika Kirk would assume her late husband's role as CEO and chair of his conservative nonprofit, a force on college campuses credited with luring so many Gen Z men to far-right politics in an election that sent President Donald Trump back to the White House. So it was, it's true that more young men came out to vote for Donald Trump in 2024. Yes, that is correct. Charlie Kirk obviously was heavily involved in that. And so I'm guessing what was supposed to happen here is that Erika Kirk would be able to do the same thing for young women, like the Gen Z women. But that doesn't seem to be happening. And I have my opinions about why this isn't working out too well. I think a part of this is a class issue. I don't think I think if you just look at this as a gender issue and not as a class issue, you're missing the boat, right? So Erika Kirk, very wealthy, woman, telling Gen Z women to do things such as don't wait to get married and have kids. Don't wait to start a family. Those types of things, right? So Erika, I believe, is 37 years old. So the thing is, she had money. And a lot of younger women today, the economy is not working in that way. So to tell younger women, just go ahead and start having families, don't wait, when they're having difficulties finding jobs, dealing with layoffs, affording an apartment, can't put a down payment on a house. It's not something someone may want to hear if they have 3 and 4 roommates and they are never even able to save enough money to put a down payment on a house. You see what I'm saying? The last thing they're going to be thinking about is starting a family. And it could also be because Erika Kirk doesn't seem to be truthful when it comes to these types of issues. We'll get to that. Let's continue going on here. Headlines pondering the possibility ensued that Erika would be responsible for the conservative women, right? They featured interviews with young conservative women and Republican strategists, many of them suggesting Turning Point could use Erika as a conduit to reach Gen Z women. Turning Point USA didn't respond when asked if it had seen an interest from young women or more interest. It also did not respond to requests for an interview with her. And this just says it all, right? The picture here, the theatrics. I don't think a lot of young women look up to Erika Kirk. Just being honest. Let's continue on a little bit more here. The reality, experts in the young voting bloc say, is that young women really aren't buying the narrative that Erika Kirk has been peddling, that they'd be happier leaving their careers behind, getting married young, having children, and submitting to their husbands. I certainly think that Erika could be a strong leader, bringing in more young women than perhaps have been part of Turning Point movement to date. But I don't suspect we're going to see a massive shift right among young women anytime soon. That is coming from Rachel Jafanza, who is the founder of Gen Z research and strategy firm, The Up and Up. Dr. Corey C. Miller, a generational expert who's written 6 books about Gen Z, agreed, saying she doesn't expect Erika to be some kind of massive draw to young women, especially if she continues to put the same message that Charlie Kirk did. The messaging that resonated with Gen Z women is really different than the message that resonated with Gen Z men. So let's get into this part here. Can Erika Kirk be that same thing? I don't think women are looking for that. Let's get into some of the polls here. That's evident from recent elections. In 2024, young women ages 18 to 29 chose Kamala Harris over Donald Trump by an 18-point margin. Men in that age group swung significantly the other way. The key to Charlie Kirk's success was luring young men to MAGA was his shock appeal. Charlie Kirk didn't hold back, and young men were like, yeah, finally someone saying something for me. What Gen Z women actually care about, this is the important part here. This idea of finding that partner because you don't want to go through life solo is definitely not something women are embracing in bulk by any stretch. Recent data she's gathered showed that while 23% of Gen Z men said they wanted to get married to avoid being alone, just 13% of women in that age group said the same. And among members of Gen Z who said they don't want to get married, 56% of women cited a desire to be independent compared to just 41% of men. Among that group, 24% of women cited an opposition to combining finances, while just 17% of men said the same. We are seeing a big shift, right? This is a generational shift. Also, I mean, I'm a millennial. I'm an older millennial. You know, it wasn't really, I don't think a lot of us were really like, yay, let's go out there and get married anyway, without having the finances, without having, you know, all these pieces set into place. Like, you just don't wake up and say, okay, let's just go have all these kids and we don't have a way to take care of them, right? So what this is showing you is that, again, Gen Z women across the board, this is not just Gen Z liberal women. This is not just Gen Z, you know, independents or conservative. This is across the board. The number one thing on their mind is not starting a family. And a big part of that has to do with the economy, right? Like, people need money to start a family. Why would you think about starting a family if you can't even afford to put a down payment on a house? Why would you think about starting a family if you can barely make it with your rent without having 3 or 4 roommates? A lot of these kids are going through that today, including the ones who graduated from college. They're getting these jobs, and some of them not even getting that. But the ones that are getting the jobs, a lot of these kids have roommates, and they're looking at their economic future through what is going on right now. So if you don't have the money to save, Erika, then that's not going to be the number one thing on your mind. Erika's rich. She can do that. She was able to be a stay-at-home mom. They're worth millions. Charlie Kirk was making millions. She could do that. The average person in the US today can't. And I say this as someone who went to college, also went to grad school. I don't know. None of my friends stay home. None of them. Every single one of my friends that had kids work because they have to. You need 2 incomes today. Let's go on again. Listen to this. This data point here. We're not seeing any indicators that these women are leaning on these head of household men who would take care of them financially. It's an outdated thing. And Erika, I don't know. Erika, you're 37, hon. You're 37, but you got money, so you can do these things. We're going to get to this NBC News poll. I want to show you that as well, because people need to see this. Even with Turning Point's target demographic of young right-leaning voters, the differences in men and women priorities are astounding, especially when it comes to one of Kirk's biggest mandates, having children. Let's jump to this NBC poll. And actually, we'll go ahead and jump to this now, and then I'll get to that video. Gen Z's gender divide reaches beyond politics and into marriage and children and success. Let's go ahead and show you the data, because I'm going to show you the Trump voters. Trump approval overall and on the issues among Gen Z. So when it comes to female, overall, 26% approve. 26% approve. When it comes to inflation and cost of living for women, which is gray, only 21% approve. So more men approve of Trump when it comes to inflation and cost of living than women among the Gen Z group. Let's continue on a little bit more here. I want to get to another one. We get to the marriage part. Make it a little bit bigger. How do you feel about the future? Ages 18 to 29. When it comes to women, again, do you feel anxious or worried about the future? 33% of women feel anxious, only 19% of men. Some of this also could have something to do with reproductive rights as well, which I've said this before, even on the conservative side, you're starting to see some people say, I don't know if I want to push the pro-life message like anymore. You're seeing some of that on the conservative side, maybe not as a party, but this is another thing. They're starting to ask these questions. Let's continue on here. I want to get to the top traits. Here we go. Which of the following traits do you think are important in getting ahead in the workplace? It's interesting. They're pretty much in alignment here when it says communication, reliability, adaptability, collaboration. They rank those pretty much the same, top 4. When it gets to 5, though, females said empathy and men said competitiveness, right? But let's get to success. Which of the following is important to your personal definition of success? So this is something that stands out, right? Number 1, having a job or career you find fulfilling. So both male and female said that. Having enough money, both said that. Achieving financial independence, both of them said that. Again, same ranking there. 4, for females, having emotional stability. For men, using your talents and resources to help others. Owning a home is number 6. And I believe the reason that's further down the list is because they realize that's not a reality for a lot of them. So check that out. Having no debt, number 7 for women. Being married, number 8 for men. I'm still going here. This is what stands out. When it comes to having children, for women that they polled, those Gen Z women, that was number 10. When it comes to having children for men, that was number 8. So more of the Gen Z men put a higher priority on having children, but not that much of a difference from the women. So the reality is, the reason why you're seeing owning a home and having children further down on that list is because they realize this may not be a reality for them because they can't afford it. That's what Erika Kirk doesn't understand. That's what Turning Point USA doesn't understand. The economy, in my opinion, hasn't been good since the 2008 housing crisis, to be honest with you. So this is the reality for a lot of younger people, including some millennials too. Like, it's not just Gen Z, but this is the reality. That's why it's so far down. Being married for those Gen Z women ranked 11. So this message that Erika Kirk is out there preaching, women have kids young, start a family when you're young, it does not resonate with the reality, the economic reality that a lot of Gen Z people are dealing with today. It's an outdated message at this point in time. They realize, again, that's why it's so far down on the list. And remember, when it comes to women and having children, that means time off from work. And depending on who you work for, I don't know, depends on how much maternity leave you get. Now, here in Massachusetts, they made that statewide. So regardless of your employer, you get that maternity leave, but that's not the case for the other states in this country. Not all the rest of them. So these are just big realities. I think they definitely have a problem. Here's another one. Look at those who voted for Trump. Among women, who we're going to focus on these two columns here at the bottom. Which of the following is important to your personal definition of success? Again, 18 to 29, they were allowed to pick 3 choices out of 13 options. Let's look at the people who voted for Trump. Female who voted for Trump. The number one thing is achieving financial independence. For men who voted for Trump, the number one thing is having children. There is a big difference here. Let's see where those women who voted for Trump mentioned having children. 6. And being married, 9. So, ladies and gentlemen, Erika Kirk and Turning Point USA have a big problem. And like I said, a lot of this is affordability. And a lot of younger people nowadays, they're like, well, I'm not going to be able to afford a house. They would rather spend their money on experiences, or like they would like to travel, those types of things. But the reality is the younger women aren't feeling it this way. This poll also, we'll get back to that. Let's get to what Erika said. If we go to this video here, this is also part of the problem. This woman really kind of calls out Erika Kirk's hypocrisy. I don't think this is helping either for Turning Point USA.
Hey, Erika, what about the guys you dated before Charlie?
I was here for 5 years. I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was.
You were proposed to by Charlie in 2020. You started dating him in 2018. And 3 years before that, you were dating this guy, Tyler Massey. I mean, you guys would do couples photo shoots. This is still online.
I think that was a modeling photo shoot, but she did apparently have a relationship with Cabot Phillips. I saw people check that. And so to that point, she wasn't truthful in that interview when she said like she wasn't dating anyone before Charlie Kirk. That was false. I mean, it's stuff like this. Like, you ain't got to lie about that. Like, you don't, just be honest. Like, if you dated other people, you dated other people. I don't understand why that's even suspect. And by the way, that so-called relationship that she had apparently with Cabot Phillips is also kind of weird, that apparently a lot of those pictures have been deleted. That now if you try to go find those posts, they're gone. Why? Why is that removed? Why is that hidden? So here's the thing. Younger women, especially of today, are less likely to look up to another female that they feel is being fake, that they feel is disingenuous. Different generation, different times, but they're less likely to gravitate towards someone like her because if you can't even be honest about your dating history, what else are you being dishonest about? But you're out here telling everybody else that they need to go ahead and start a family early. And then you lie to everybody and say you didn't date anyone before Charlie Kirk. It doesn't make any sense. Aye.
And this is only 3 years before you started dating Charlie.
He's in heaven.
Yeah, and 2 years later, you were dating this guy, Cabot Phillips. And here he is posting you guys on his public page saying, yes, we're that couple who gets painting lessons together. Again, this is a year before you started dating Charlie. And well within the 5-year period, you claim to have never dated anyone.
And how do you not remember that? And that's the other thing is like, no, I never dated anyone. You guys are clearly taking a picture here at what looks like this was a paint bar session where you can go and like, paint. I've been to those things before, but it's very clear that this happened. And it's just really weird to me that Erika's not responding to this. It's been all out there on the interwebs. People are like, why is she lying about this? It's just the little things. So no, those Gen Z women aren't going to respect you or look up to you for that either.
Claim to have never dated anyone, but you were out here dissing your roommate for dating.
I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than I don't drink. I find it unproductive.
And why are you here drinking and dating on a reality show that actually was filmed the year you met Charlie? So you obviously were dating. So I'm not understanding your timeline. I mean, you're talking to a guy here who's asking you out on a date and you're taking his number?
See? I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't know. And I've said this before. To me, Erika is very strange. To me, there's something not right about Erika. Like, why would you lie about that? Why? I don't know. She's trying to make it herself out to be like this pure person or whatever. It just is what it is. But come on, man. Come on.
And here you are on your date.
I've honestly spent the majority of my life being one of the most sought after bachelors. Oh, great. But I'm just really excited to spend some one-on-one time with Erika. I really do like her, and I'm excited to get to know her a little bit more.
Erika?
Did she forget that this happened? No, of course not. Like, she was on a whole ass reality show, a dating one. Oh my God.
Hello? I just want to understand how you so confidently lied to our faces when this footage was on national television, and you know the footage is out there. The pictures of your boyfriends that you dated are still public online, and you know that, but you still lie like this.
Stop.
Wait, isn't Cabot Phillips your ex-boyfriend? Why is he now the speaker of Turning Point USA? Leading speeches of how to lead like Charlie. What's going on, Erika?
Stop.
He's also the senior editor for the Daily Wire, the one outlet that your husband was having active beef with at the time, connected to Netanyahu. So
Stop.
Right. So what else are you lying about? Because you're a liar. Point blank, period. You're a liar. And we just proved that. So this is still publicly accessible on social media. And you lied about that. You also lied about dating, but you were on a reality show dating the same year you met Jesse. You know what I mean? What else are you lying about? Like bigger things? Are you lying about bigger things? Because this is small and you'd really easily with like a straight face, you lie. So like, what, Cause sure.
Stop.
Yeah, it's not a good look, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a good look. Like, again, like she pretends like this information doesn't exist out there. And the whole Cabot Phillips thing is really weird. Like, you're just gonna pretend like this guy doesn't exist. And he also worked with the Daily Wire. What is happening? Oh my God. The point is this: you're definitely not gonna see an increase in Gen Z women with this type of lies. It's just very weird. So no, I don't think she's someone that a lot of Gen Z women will look up to. And here's something else too that they've been lying about, or they haven't been forthcoming about, I would say. At the AmFest afterwards, they said, look, we did a poll at AmFest and it says that the majority of the people here support Israel. So all that stuff online about Republicans not supporting Israel isn't true. That's not the case. Okay. You polled your own people. You polled the people at an event. They paid to attend. They paid to attend the event. Of course, most of them are going to go the way that you want them to go. They paid to be there. But what does the numbers really show? Right now, this is the new one. Republicans are turning against Israel, polls show. And TPUSA is not going to show you this one. This came out December 22nd. Let's go ahead and get into the numbers a little bit here. They talked about AmFest as well. What did the poll show? A recent poll from the Institute of Middle East Understanding Policy Project and YouGov found that younger Republicans are more skeptical of U.S. support for Israel. Here's the numbers. Republicans younger than 45 viewed Benjamin Netanyahu narrowly favorably, 31% compared to 29% unfavorably. Among those 45 and older, 59% viewed him favorably, 19% viewed him unfavorably. So what you're seeing here is that the younger Republicans, again, there's a change. It found that 23% of Republicans age 18 to 44 believe the U.S. should increase support for Israel, compared to 31% of those age 45 and older. So only 23% of Republicans age 18 to 44 believe the U.S. should support Israel. But Erika Kirk and TPUSA, they're out there on Twitter telling people, look at this poll. We polled our audience at AmFest, and it's a lie that there's a split within the conservative movement around Israel. Yeah, you polled the people who paid to attend. But they're not showing you these numbers. Another one here shows the poll surveyed 1,287 Republicans from November 14th to November 24, and at a margin of error of plus or minus 3 percentage points. Important to say that as well. But there has been a change. There has been a shift. 19% of Republican respondents said they felt Israel had been going too far, compared to 12% in December of 2023. YouGov Economist poll. The majority of Republicans, 56%, are sympathetic towards Israelis. However, that does mark a shift from earlier polls in April 2024, when 61% of Republicans were sympathetic towards Israelis. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But while all this is happening, Erika Kirk was out here trying to sell books. This is what she said. Christmas Eve.
This holiday season, my prayer for you is to honestly just rest. That would be my husband's message as well. There's a lot of noise out there. Holiday season can be really crazy, but I just pray that you find some alone time with the Lord and your family. Love on your babies, love on your family members. Life is short.
Oh, that was a way to end that. And here's that book. Here's the book. See the book in her hand? See the book? She out here trying to sell books. Look at this. You see what I mean? And then she ended it with life is short. Girl, let me tell look, Erika. Erika, girl. You got bigger issues. Oh my God. You got bigger issues. This is wild. It's wild. Buy this book for Christmas if you haven't bought it yet. I tell you. Yeah. But Erika and Turning Point USA, they got a Gen Z women problem, and they don't seem to be willing to acknowledge that. And that's a big one. That's a big one. But that's what happens when you are just out of touch with the class perspective. The rest of the women in this country, the majority, don't have the money that Erika Kirk has, and they can't just say, okay, I'm going to start a family early. Especially a lot of the younger people, they are trying to find ways to just get by, just literally just get by. And kind of hard to start a family if you can't get by. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.